Hello, dear ones. You're back at the Indigo Rose Lounge. I'm your host, Alyce Dylan, and we've circled back round to the topic of IA or AI. So, why are we back here now? I know I've done quite a few things. There's a chapter in my book called Is the Future IA, Indigo Adult, or AI? And I think it's both, but let's look at it again because gosh, our community, our indigo community, intuitive community are very up in arms about the AI whole evolution, and there are things to be concerned about for sure. So let's touch on some of that. Who is behind AI? Who's programming the machine? What instructions is it receiving? What information is forming its basis? Those are all important things, and of course, that will come out in the wash. I don't think there's anything that you or I could do about that right now. And if one of us, some of us can do something, then it's certainly a worthy challenge to pursue. However, in the age of the indigo adult, which we're going into now, and again, this is all laid out in my book. It's been many hundred years of evolution of humanity. My firm belief is that the intuitives, HSPs, who I call the spiritually perceptive, so the indigo adults, the empaths, etc., are on the leading edge of the evolution of humanity, in that we are equipped with everything that would be required to live forward into the new age and rebuild humanity after the disasters that are bound to happen now. Now it's just around the corner. And why I say that is because the old order has to fall, right? I don't think it's going to go slowly. It's not going to go with that slither out the door. It's going to need a push. So let's say that all happens. And now we're heading into a new world. And perhaps AI is very much a part of that world. So why do I believe that as the intuitive community, we should not be afraid of this? And again, I go into all these reasons in the book, but just to encapsulate them, I don't believe this is a mistake. I don't believe we are a mistake. I think we're perfectly on time. That our evolution in evolution of the sensitives and the spiritually perceptive is happening at the perfect time for humanity, and that we are here with a particular set of skills and abilities, just as AI is here, perfectly on time. Let's for a moment, though, look at the frequency scale. Just in our minds, let's look at right at the bottom of that frequency scale. What do we have? So if we're starting, you have a frequency scale from 0 up to 1,000. Let's just take that scale. Now we know that humankind, humanity, human beings, really only perceive 14% of what's going on around us in terms of frequency through our 5 senses. Certainly the intuitive community is going to extend that. But let's say right at the bottom of the frequency scale are the things that are solid, that are vibrating slowly. The animal existence, our physical bodies, the tangible physical stuff, the hard, heavy, slow stuff. This desk that I'm sitting at, the wall in front of you. These are the slow moving, not moving, hopefully, elements on a frequency of vibration. So we know that everything is energy and it's vibrating at its own level. And so solidity, hard stuff, vibrates very slowly. And then you move up that frequency scale. And where we hit things we start to recognize is in the field of emotional impact. So we've also come to understand that we experience certain frequencies as emotion. Some people say we experience certain emotions and those emotions have frequency. You can say it either way. I tend to think that it's a frequency first and that we know what frequency we are on by the emotion that we're feeling. So if we go frequency first and we say, okay, there's a frequency down there at the low end of the scale. What is that? How does that frequency feel? And that frequency feels like apathy. You take a jump up from there, and then another frequency on that scale could be contentment. So moving up this frequency scale, this emotional scale, and there's another frequency that then feels like contentment. If you're moving up further up the frequency scale, we eventually get up to joy and bliss and love and yay. And that's right up there on the top of the frequency scale. Not really at the top, but it's right up at the top layers. And then beyond that is where the intuitive, the empath, the spiritually perceptive can then connect with our spirit selves. They're up at the top of that frequency scale. Spirit self is way up there outside of the realm of the physical world. So up top, we can't see it, can't perceive it with these physical abilities, but obviously the indigo, the empath, we can perceive the spirit self. We perceive our true eternal soul, and that's up there, and we can connect with that. So there's the frequency scale from the solid up to the love and joy and spirit and yay. All right. So in this breadth of frequency, where does AI sit? Well, it sits down at the bottom, doesn't it? In computers and hardware and software, and yeah, there's some electricity involved, but it is a child of physical world. It's a child of low vibration. So if you say that humanity can experience all of these, and we can work with, and we can harness, and we can experience all these different frequencies, really, where does AI sit there? It sits at the bottom layers. It's at the bottom of human experience, in the hard, immovable, solid stuff, bits and bytes, ones and zeros. It's down there. It's on the lowest rung. So it's down there with the crabs and the insects and the stones and the minerals. And sure, it can compute, it can digest information, but it's never going to experience anything on higher frequencies. And so I happened upon a podcast the other day where some chap was talking about what are the 5 skills needed that AI can never replicate. I thought, okay, this is interesting. Let's have a look at that. And guess what they are, dear ones? They're everything that the spiritually perceptive are very good at. They're all the things that we excel at because of our sixth sense, if you like, our spiritual perception. So let's have a look at those. So AI can't experience emotions. Goodness, we know emotion, don't we? It can't experience empathy. Well, hello, that's our playing ground. AI cannot do visualization. It can't see if it plots a path from A to B and there's an obstacle in the middle. It can't really visualize its way around it unless it's got a programmed alternate route. And so in challenges, in addressing challenges, AI doesn't do that very well. And what's going to be very important is access to knowing what's true and what's not true. In the world of AI, anything can be faked, anything can be untrue. And we have the ability, once we practice it and we install it in ourselves, we have the ability to know what is true and what isn't because it has a different frequency, and we can hear that. You can train yourself to hear that, the truth versus untruth. And so that's a skill that's going to be extremely important. And then, of course, there's trustworthiness. There's knowing not only what is true and what is not true, but knowing that you will be trustworthy. And most indigo adults are, because we don't like to lie and we don't like to stand in untruth, especially if we've committed to authenticity. So there we go, darlings. Once again, you see what I'm saying? There's nothing to fear with the AI world. Carry on with your journey. Explore your abilities. Stand in them. Embrace them. Grow them. Exercise them. And become the beautiful, shining, new age human that you were destined to be. Love always.